Canon menu settings for shooting with vintage lenses, plus Fotodiox Pro adapter.
And look at that beauty right there. Look at it. Like, I just love these old Canon FD lenses. They're just, whew, they're beautiful, aren't they? Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today's gonna be fun. We're gonna talk about one of these new passions I have, and that is vintage lenses. And we're gonna talk about the setting you have to set on your mirrorless Canon camera in order to use vintage lenses on it. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about this Fotodiox adapter here. It is a Fotodiox Pro FD to EOS R adapter. So it'll adapt your FD glass to your RF mount, which is pretty cool. So first, let's talk about that setting. All right, check that out. That is a 17mm f4. It's a Canon FD lens from the 80s, and it's gorgeous, man. I love these old FD lenses. They shoot some really beautiful kind of nostalgic photos, but they look great too. But yeah, let's talk about the setting you have to set on your camera. Now, okay, grab your Canon mirrorless camera. We're filming now on the R5, and this is the EOS R, and there's rumors of an R7 and R8 coming out in the future. And I can tell you that the menu setting is in a different place on the R and the R5. But it's in the orange tab. So what you want to do is go into the orange tab and look for a setting called release shutter WO lens. So what that means is release shutter without lens, and set that setting to on. And what that allows you to do is, by default, the camera will not actuate the shutter if there is no lens on the front, right? So what you have to do is turn on that setting, which tells the camera it's okay to release the shutter if there's no lens, because these vintage lenses, they don't communicate with the camera. There's no circuitry going back and forth. So as far as the camera is concerned, there is no lens on the front of it. So you kind of have to trick it by turning on that setting. So that's the first thing you got to do. All right, so if you have some vintage FD glass, this is the adapter I've been using and the one I recommend. This is the Fotodiox Pro FD to EOS R adapter, and it will adapt your FD glass, whatever it is, if it's Canon or another brand, Sigma, Vivitar, or whatever, it'll adapt it to the RF mount. It's pretty easy to use as long as you set that setting up in your camera first, which we just talked about. This is the adapter, so the vintage lens goes on one end, the other end attaches to your camera. So in order to install your vintage lens onto the adapter, what you want to do, there's a little blue ring here, and it slides between install and you have these three dots. So you want to set it to install, then you line up the red dot with the red dot. And there we go, lock it into place. And then what you want to do is take this little blue ring and slide it over to those three dots. And what those three dots do is that it allows you to use the aperture ring on your vintage lens. So obviously when you shoot with your camera, you're gonna have to set the aperture manually on your lens, and you're gonna have to focus manually with the focus ring. And the old vintage lenses, oh, that focus ring is so smooth. It's nice and oily. It's buttery. So that's pretty much it. So if you want to get some vintage FD lenses and put them onto your EOS R system mirrorless cameras, there you go. All right, so here we go. We have the FD 24mm app 2.8 on the Canon EOS R shooting in C-Log 3. Let's get some focus on the eyes. You have to manually focus everything. Looks like everything's good. So this is what vintage glass on an R5 looks like. See the halation over there? It looks pretty cool. I love the way vintage lenses look. It kind of gives me this nostalgic feeling of the 80s, and I think it's super cool. So hopefully you guys like that. And if you want to know more about vintage lenses, definitely subscribe to the channel, because I will be making more videos on vintage glass and my experience as I experiment with it and learn from it. But if you want to see a video right now, there is a video I shot shooting cherry blossoms with vintage lenses. So if you want to check that out, go for it. If not, peace out. I will see you guys in the next video, and we will be making more videos on vintage glass. See you in the next one.